Be forewarned. If you are easily upset or don't have the stomach for controversy, do not listen to this program.
One thing that Donald Trump has not done, Donald Trump has not drained the swamp. And you know what? He's not going to drain the swamp. Nobody's going to drain the swamp. You can't drain the swamp.
I can hear him say,
This is Jim Greenfield, host of The Decline and Fall of America, starring Jim Greenfield, formerly known as The Jim Greenfield Show, with my producer, Stuart Rice. That was an honest mistake. Quote of the day: under capitalism, man exploits man. Under communism, it's just the opposite. John Kenneth Galbraith.
Who is John Kenneth Galbraith?
John Kenneth Galbraith is the guy who said, under capitalism, man exploits man. Under communism, it's just the opposite. You really have to think about that. It's pretty clever if you think about it. John Kenneth Galbraith, he was in the Kennedy administration, but he was also a noted economist and author. Quote of the day, I just said the quote of the day. So this is the talk host formerly known as Jim Greenfield. Did I say that already? Offering advice on gardening, home repairs, automotive advice, health, legal, financial, personal relationships, and mental health advice here on The Decline and Fall of America. So the first topic, and maybe the only topic for this episode, comes from the Dredge Report, and it comes from the I Never Promised You a Rose Garden department of the program. Bedminster, New Jersey, headline says, Paul Manafort thanks Trump for offering him a job. Now, I'm sure everybody knows who Paul Manafort is. Donald Trump's campaign manager, who has already been convicted of some crimes, being prosecuted by the Mueller probe. And they've concluded one trial. They set for another trial. It looks like he's making some kind of a plea deal on the second set of charges. Now, here's what happened. Donald Trump was at a roundtable on prison reform, and he claimed that his spectacular record on the economy and on the creation of 4 million new jobs. This doesn't get a lot of media attention because it's a positive for Trump. His economic policies have been pretty successful. We've had 4.2% GDP growth in the last quarter. He's created 4 million new jobs. I won't say he's created, but 4 million new jobs have been created in the economy since Trump took office. And he said that these policies, since he took office, has offered ex-cons to get jobs when they get out of prison. Trump said that employers need workers, and now they're willing to give ex-cons a second chance. In other words, it's hard for ex-cons to get a job because they have to fill out an application, and the employers do a background check. They find out, oh, you just got out of prison. They won't give them jobs, which is unfortunate. You get these guys, they can't get a second chance. They come out of prison, they can't get a job, and so what are they going to do? Well, they'll probably start committing crimes again, right? So Trump, at this roundtable on prison reform, says, well, I've got the best program there is for helping ex-cons to get work, which is the economy's growing. The employers need them. There's a shortage of labor. And so they'll hire ex-cons, so they wouldn't have before. Well, Paul Manafort apparently took Trump literally, and he sent him a tweet thanking him for the job offer when he gets out of prison. Because when Trump said, well, I'm creating jobs for ex-cons, Manafort thought he meant him. And the Democrats and the liberal media were very quick to pounce on this. Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, says this was clearly obstruction of justice. Mueller needs to investigate this. And Nancy Pelosi on the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC said, this was a dog whistle to Manafort. In other words, she's saying that when Trump said, I'm offering jobs to ex-cons She thought that was a dog whistle to Manafort, that Trump is trying to get Manafort to not give evidence against him in consideration of a promise for a job when he gets out. However, Trump defended himself, saying he wasn't offering a job to Manafort. This didn't persuade Congresswoman Maxine Waters. She said this is an impeachable offense.
This is from the Drudge Report, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
You weren't sure.
I wasn't sure.
That's the goal. It's for you to be unsure. Now, since we've got a little more time, this comes to you from the sore loser department. Now, you know that establishment elites in Washington and the media I would say, are understandably appalled by President Trump's crude, boorish behavior. You know, he's undisciplined, he's impulsive, he's vindictive. He can't keep his mouth shut. He doesn't really understand how Washington politics works or how the political game is supposed to be played. And for example, even his supporters complain that he's constantly stepping on his own message by allowing himself to be baited into responding with tweets to every with tweets to every insult and criticism against him. And he doesn't speak properly. He talks like a plumber. He talks like a plumber. He doesn't sound like a president of the United States. Most presidents are Ivy League educated, and Trump is also. He went to the Wharton School, although from what I've heard, he never went to class. But he did go to the Wharton School. And presidents are expected to sound like they graduated from Ivy League schools. Supposed to speak with a certain level of way of expressing themselves that sounds like they had an Ivy League education. But according to Bob Woodward in this anonymous opinion piece in the New York Times, the White House is in chaos, and all the people working for Trump know that there's something wrong with him, and they have to intervene in order to keep him from doing horrible, destructive things that will damage the country. That's the narrative that's coming out now. Now you contrast this with Obama, and I'd say Trump is the opposite of Obama. Obama still is eloquent. He's articulate. You can tell he had an Ivy League education. He went to Columbia undergraduate. He went to Harvard Law School. He's very disciplined. His message is very disciplined. I mean, he doesn't say a word that hasn't been clearly thought out in advance, and he's smooth in his delivery, right? And he has an attractive quality. He's pretty good at delivering one-liners also. Mm-hmm. He's not bad at stand-up. But No,
I mean, I would argue Obama's definitely probably the funniest president we've ever had.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I'll give the devil his due. One other good thing about Obama is that he never says what he really thinks. I mean, when he was running for president, especially in 2008, what was his slogan? Yes, we can. What was the other one? Hope and change. Total meaningless verbiage. Absolutely meaningless. Vapid. And everybody loved it. Okay? Did we know that he was a pro-Muslim sympathizer and that he was a radical leftist ideologue who wanted to turn America into a socialist country? No, we didn't know that. I mean, some of us figured it out, but he certainly didn't talk about that on the campaign trail. So he didn't talk about what he thinks. And under Obama, the White House was indubitably orderly and well-structured, much more so than under Trump. And everything was thought through. And the Washington elite and the media loved Obama. Now, personally, I find it difficult to listen to him speak because everything he says is a lie. But, I'm giving him credit for his talents. Now, here's the thing. Here's my point. These people absolutely hate Trump, and they loved Obama. Now, I don't hate or love either one of them. I think Obama's a chronic liar, and so is Trump. But I judge presidents and all politicians primarily, not entirely, but primarily by their policies. So let's compare the policies of Obama and Trump, which don't seem to matter a bit. They don't matter one iota to the liberal media what their policies are. They don't talk about it. So what was Obama's policies? In foreign policy, he backed the mullahs in Iran against a popular uprising in 2009, supported the mullahs who are enemies of America, who promote chants of death to America, death to Israel, and sponsor terrorism all over the place, kill American troops. He supported keeping them in power. He backed the overthrow of a pro-American government in Egypt. There was a pro-American government, Mubarak, in Egypt. It was pro-American, pro-Israel. They were friends with Israel. He supported the overthrow of that government, replacing it with an anti-American, anti-Israel Muslim Brotherhood government. He gave the Iranian terrorists, the mullahs, $150 billion. And he gave them, basically, with his nuclear deal, a green light to build nuclear weapons because the deal didn't allow for inspection to enforce it, to keep them from building them. To build weapons and had no provision stopping them from building missiles to deliver those weapons to destroy Israel. Obama failed to stop Syria's use of chemical weapons against their own people. You know, this isn't everything. I'm just giving you some of the highlights of his foreign policy. He failed to defeat ISIS in Iraq and Syria. I mean, he fought them, but he didn't win a decisive victory over them. He was anti-Israel. He was hostile to Israel and rude to Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu. He was weak against the Soviet Union. He allowed the Soviet Union to get away with aggression in Crimea, to take over Crimea and send their troops into Ukraine. He didn't do anything to stop it. He weakened the U.S. military, and he took every measure possible against U.S. strength and in favor of Shiite Muslim terrorists. Now, he seemed to favor the Shiites over the Sunnis for some mysterious reason. Maybe his own background was in Shiite Islam. He did have training in Muslim temples, in mosques. When he was a child, he had a stepfather who was Muslim, and he did receive some indoctrination there. So he apparently had some sympathy for it. And by the way, this is well documented. You can go on YouTube and find videos of Obama giving several pro-Muslim speeches, and he uses a lot of Aramaic and quotes the Quran frequently. Now, in domestic policy, Obama raised taxes. He created Obamacare, which people may forget because it's fading now, but it was a disaster. It was a disaster. He increased regulations of business and therefore decreased business activity, prevented new businesses from being formed. Very few number of new businesses were formed under the Obama administration. Right now, under Trump, we're getting 800,000 new businesses per quarter. He attacked the coal industry and tried to put it out of business, and to a large degree did put it out of business. He refused to support expansion of U.S. oil and gas drilling offshore and on federal lands. He overregulated the banks, which is what's caused tremendous problems in the mortgage industry. He added 13 million new Americans to food stamps. 13 million people had to go on food stamps under Obama. He added 8 million people to those who were under the poverty line. GDP growth under Obama averaged 1.8%. Wage stagnation, there was no increase in real wages for workers, and the labor participation rate was significantly reduced. That's Obama's record on domestic policy. Compare that with Trump. Now, Trump's the guy with the big mouth who can't keep it shut, who acts like an idiot, who pisses everybody off. But Obama's the opposite. Very impressive guy, very smart, well-disciplined. But I'm comparing their policies. Mm-hmm. What has Trump's record been? On foreign policy, he pulled us out of the idiotic Paris Climate Accord. He pulled us out of the ineffectual Iran nuclear deal so that we can confront Iran and try to make them stop spreading terrorism. He defeated ISIS almost completely. There are some small vestiges in Syria. Completely defeated them in Iraq, largely defeated in Syria. He checked Syria when they used chemical weapons. He attacked and sent a strong message that that's not to be permitted. And on Russia, although the Democrats love to attack Trump, oh, he's soft on Russia, he's friends with Vladimir Putin. If you actually look at his actual record, it's true he said nice things about Putin. But if you look at his actual record, unlike Obama, President Trump provided arms to the Ukrainian government to fight Russia. President Trump has gotten NATO to increase their spending. You think Putin's happy about that the NATO countries are spending more on NATO defenses against Russia? He's increased the sanctions on Russia. He attacked, actually in Syria, the U.S. military. This is very amazing that this didn't get more news coverage. American military killed 200 Russians in Syria. 200 Russian troops were killed by the U.S. military. So tell me he's pro-Russian? He supported a military buildup. We're rebuilding our military, which was substantially reduced under Obama. He's pro-Israel, totally pro-Israel. And he started making progress on denuclearizing North Korea. Now, we don't know how that's going to play out. But we did get them to stop testing nuclear weapons. We got them to stop sending missiles over Japan. We got them to send the remains of American soldiers from North Korea back to the U.S. We got them to release some Americans that were held in captivity. So we've had real progress with North Korea under Obama. I'm sorry, under Trump, not Obama. Trump's foreign policy has, and I don't think Trump really knows much about foreign policy, but his instincts seem to be correct. And he's got a good foreign policy team, and he's getting very good results with a strong foreign policy. On domestic policy, Trump has cut taxes, which has so far been tremendously successful at repatriating capital from American businesses, bringing it back to America. So that American business is expanding rapidly. He's deregulated, gotten rid of a lot of excessive business regulation. He's supporting oil drilling in the U.S., which is at an all-time high. And the U.S. is finally becoming net exporter of oil and natural gas. He got rid of the Obamacare individual mandate, which everybody hated. Everybody hated that. Even the Democrats didn't support that. That was the provision of Obamacare that said you have to buy insurance even if you don't want it. And if you don't, the IRS is going to tax you. He got rid of that. He's produced 4.2% GDP growth. It compares very favorably with Obama's 1.8%. He's got a much higher labor participation rate, which means that more people are saying that they are in the workforce and not going on unemployment. The unemployment rate, people applying for unemployment benefits, is going way down. We've got down to 3.9% unemployment. Average family income is now going up to $61,000, a record high. And 4 million people have gone off food stamps since Trump came into office. Now, the conclusion I draw from all this is that to the media and political elites, style is what matters. They don't like Trump's style. Okay, I get it. He's kind of a douchebag. But I don't care. It doesn't put cash in my pocket to have a nice style. The record of achievement doesn't seem to matter to these people. I judge politicians by their policies, not by their words. And, you know, if this is chaos, I say let's have more of it. I don't care. Do you care if there's chaos in the White House? What the hell do you care? If your taxes are cut, if your business that you work for or that you own is growing because of good economic policies, if there aren't any terrorist attacks because we have a strong military and a strong foreign policy, do you care that there's chaos in the White House? Oh, we got to impeach him. We got to invoke the 25th Amendment because there's chaos in the White House. I don't give a shit if there's chaos in the White House. Now, I will say, just so that you don't all think that I've gone over and become a Trumpinista, one thing that Donald Trump has not done is he hasn't drained the swamp. Donald Trump has not drained the swamp. There are plenty of alligators and mosquitoes still there. And you know what? He's not going to drain the swamp. Nobody's going to drain the swamp. You can't drain the swamp. You want to drain the swamp? Set off a nuclear bomb in Washington, D.C. It would take a revolution to drain the swamp. You'd have to have an overthrow of the present system of government. Because the present system of government we have is totally corrupt. The crony capitalism, the corruption, the deep state. How you think Trump would get rid of the deep state? He can't get rid of them because they're the deep state. They ain't going away. And we're not going to get rid of the crony capitalism either. Another exciting edition of The Decline and Fall of America now coming to a conclusion. This is Jim Greenfield exposing stupidity wherever it is found, and it's found almost everywhere.
You're welcome for listening to another brilliant installment of The Decline and Fall of America starring Jim Greenfield, formerly known as The Jim Greenfield Show. If you have a topic you would like Jim to talk about, or if you think Jim is brilliant and want to cheer him on, or you think Jim is an idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about, send an email to jimgreenfieldshowpodcast@gmail.com, follow the show on Facebook at Decline and Fall of America, or on Twitter at JGS Podcast, or you can call and leave a message for Jim at 503-512-0811, and your message will likely get played on the show. And now, our beautiful outro music, the Ode to Jim.
14 years on the radio, Jim Greenfield served humanity. His bosses fired him 7 times. They said he's no Sean Hannity. Greenfield tried to stay out of trouble and be discreet as best he could. He claims the reason he got canned behind the mic, he's just too good. Jim's enemies tried to silence him in panic and hysterical.